There we go. Okay, for whoever might be watching this later, we're continuing our reading of Hamlet, and we are going to be going on to Act Two, Scene One. So, Act Two, Scene One, a room in Polonius's house. Enter Polonius and Ronaldo. Lord Polonius, give him this money and these notes, Ronaldo. Ronaldo, I will, my lord. Lord Polonius, you shall do marvelously wisely, good Rinaldo, before you visit him, to make inquiry of his behavior. Rinaldo, my lord, I did intend it. Lord Polonius, marry, well said, very well said. Look you, sir, inquire me first what danskers are in Paris, and how and whom, what means, and where they keep what company at what expense, and finding by this encompassment and drift of questions that they do know my son. Come ye more nearer than your particular demands will touch it. Take you, as 'twere, some distant knowledge of him, and thus I know his father and his friends, and impart him. Do you mark this, Ronaldo? Next.
Ronaldo, aye, very well, my lord. Lord Polonius, and in part him, but you may say not well. But if it be he, I mean, he's very wild, addicted so and so. Oh, he's very wild, addicted so and so. And there put on him what forgeries you please. Marry none so rank as may dishonour him. Take heed of that. But, sir, such wanton, wild, unusual slips are, as our companions noted, and most known to youth and liberty. Rinaldo, as gaming, my lord. Lord Polonius, ay, or drinking, fencing, swearing, quarrelling, drabbing, you may go far. Rinaldo, my lord, that would dishonour him. Lord Polonius, faith, no. You may season it in the charge. You must not put another scandal on him, that he is open to incontinency. That's not my meaning. But breathe his faults so quaintly that they may seem the taints of liberty, and flash the outbreak of a fiery mind, a savageness in unreclaimed blood of general assault. Next.
Ronaldo, but my good lord, Polonius, wherefore should you do this? Ronaldo, I, my lord, I would know that. Polonius, marry, sir, here's my drift, and I believe it's a fetch of warrant. You laying these slight sullies on my son, and 'twere thing a little soiled, a thing working, mark you. Your party in converse him you would sound, having ever seen in the predominate crimes, the youth you breed of guilty, be assured. He closes with you in this consequence. Good sir, or so, or friend, or gentleman, according to the phrase or the addition of man and country. Ronaldo, very good, my lord. Polonius, and then, sir, does he do this? He does. What was I about to say? By the mass, I was about to say something. Where did I leave? Ronaldo, at closes in the consequence at friend, or so, and gentleman. Polonius, at closes in the consequences, I marry. He closes thus, I know the gentleman, I saw him yesterday, or the other day, or then, with such or such, and as you say, there was he gaming, there he o'ertook in his house, there's falling out of tennis, or, perchance, I saw him enter such a house of sale. Videlict a brothel? or so forth. See you now, your bait of falsehood takes this carp of truth, and thus do we of wisdom and of reach, with wildness and with essays of bias, by indirections find directions out. So, my former lecturer and vice, shall you, my son, you have me, have you not? Renaldo, my lord, I have. Polonius, goodbye, fare ye well. Goodbye, good my lord. Polonius, observe his inclination in yourself. Renaldo, I shall, my lord. Polonius, and let him ply his music. Rinaldo, well, my lord. Polonius, farewell. Next, please.
Enter Ophelia. How now, Ophelia, what's the matter? Oh, my lord, I have been so affrighted. With what in the name of God? Oh, sorry, Polonius, with what in the name of God? Ophelia, my lord, as I was sewing in my closet, Lord Hamlet, with his doublet all unbraced, no hat upon his head, his stockings foul, ungartered, and down jibed to his ankle, pale as his shirt, his knees knocking each other, and with a look so piteous in purport, as if he had been loosed out of hell to speak of horrors, he comes before me. Mad for the Polonius, mad for thy love? Ophelia, my lord, I do not know, but truly I do fear it. Polonius, what did he say? Ophelia, he took me by the wrist and held my arm. Then goes he to the length of all his arm, and with his other hand thus o'er his brow, he falls to such perusal of my face as he would draw it. Long stayed he so. At last, a little shaking of mine arm, and thrice his head thus waving up and down, he raised a sigh so piteous and profound as it did seem to shatter all his bulk and end his being. That done, he lets me go, and with his head over his shoulder turned, he seemed to find his way without his eyes. For out of doors he went without their helps, and to the last bended their light on me. Next, please.
Polonius, come go with me, I will go seek the king. This is the very ecstasy of love, whose violent property foredoes itself and leads the will to desperate undertakings as oft as any passion under heaven that does afflict our natures. I'm sorry. What, have you given any hard words of late? Ophelia, no, my good lord, but as you did command, I did repel his letters and denied his access to me. Polonius, that hath made him mad. I'm sorry that with better heeded and judgment I had not quoted him. I fear he did but trifle, and meant to wreck thee. But beshrew my jealousy, by heaven, it is as proper to our age to cast beyond ourselves in our opinions, as it is common for the younger sort to lack discretion. Come, go we to the king. This must be known, which, being kept close, might move more grief to hide than hate to utter love. They leave. Next,
Okay.
please. Or, yeah, end of scene 1.
End of scene 1. Questions and clarifications time. So am I correct in this whole thing between Ronaldo, the Polonius is sending Ronaldo is going to Paris, and Polonius is giving him instructions, and he's kind of telling him to
His son,
spy or report on him, and also to cast aspersions on him.
not on Hamlet, on his son, on
Yes,
Polonius'
on
son,
his son Laertes.
Laertes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
well, he wants to find out what his son's been up to, um, and so ingratiate yourself with these people and pretend that you know something about what Laertes is doing
mhm.
by saying, I saw him go into this whorehouse and in blah blah, and just see what they say, and then we'll find out what he's been up to.
Yeah, there's a good line there. He says, By indirections, find directions out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That one of the things he thinks he might be doing, gaming and blah blah, drabbing, is visiting whorehouses or going with the
Visiting the drabs.
yeah.
Well, I've learned a new word tonight.
No,
There you go. Use it wisely, my boy.
Oh, absolutely. And discreetly.
Okay.
Danskers are not shoes as they are in this country. It's just a word for Danes. So he wants them to go and talk to all the other Danes that are in Paris that would know Laertes, or hang out with Laertes.
Okay. So he just wants Ronaldo to say enough off-color things to get the other people to open up if they have some deeper knowledge.
Yeah,
He's not really trying to ruin his son's reputation. He's just using that as bait
right.
to get the gossip flowing.
Yeah,
Okay. Got it.
and nothing that will actually dishonor him, or
Mhm. Yeah, keep it to the young man
hmm
away from his father stuff.
hmm
All right. And then, of course, we have the scene, or not the scene, but we have the conversation between Polonius and Ophelia. So Hamlet is obviously embarked on his, I'm not seeking revenge, I'm just mad.
yeah.
hmm
And he's recruiting Ophelia to be part of the testimony.
And I think Polonius assumes that the reason for the madness is his love of Ophelia that's been rejected. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I find it interesting, almost kind of parallelism between what he's asking Ronaldo to do in Paris regarding his son, and then what what Hamlet is doing, what Hamlet has done with Ophelia to recruit her to convince her father and others. Okay.
yeah, he's playing her the way Ronaldo's supposed to be playing the other Danes in Paris. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Ophelia is his daughter. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the daughter of
I
Polonius.
mean, Hamlet's playing her. Hamlet
Hamlet is playing her.
is pretending, feigning madness to get her to spread some kind of rumors about him being mad or being.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And just just as a reminder, in Act One, both Laertes and Polonius were warning Ophelia against Hamlet,
Mhm.
and that well, that Hamlet is only paying attention to her because um, not for honorable means or
Right.
for honorable reasons. He just wants to
Yeah.
take advantage of this slightly lower class.
Yeah, it's just a dalliance, and he's not going to marry you because he's got, you know, he. We talked about that last time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Are we ready to proceed?
Anybody else find this, particularly the end part, a fairly painful scene? I mean, the first part, I'd love to play Polonius for that. I'd love to do that on the stage. In fact, I'm kind of miffed that it wasn't my turn to read because it's such a juicy part there. He's outlining these sins that he wants his son accused of. And, and so basically find out about his son by mildly slandering him, and then he loses his place, which is a common comic device, and the underling has to remind him where he was.
Right.
Was.
And so that's sort of, it's comic and it's a bit painful. But once Ophelia comes in, I find it really painful, because here's somebody who's innocent, who's getting caught up in a much bigger kind of struggle. And I mean, we know what happens if you.
Yes, right.
It breaks her, and I just find this really hard. And so when she comes and tells her father, you're thinking, this is the last guy you should be talking to. He's pretty coarse and insensitive in wanting to spy on his son, and now he's going to use you to curry the king's favor. And it breaks her, and I don't know, my heart just tugs for her,
Yeah. Yeah, she's being totally used. And it is tragic.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And she's done nothing to deserve this. It's her innocence and her sweetness
She's
that make her a victim. Her goodness,
Yeah.
I'd also point out that I think so she comes and reports what Hamlet does, and I think that's probably a good tactic on Shakespeare's part, because I think if he showed it on stage, it could unintentionally lapse into the comic when you see Hamlet come out looking like this. But Shakespeare's great in terms of what he keeps off stage and has reported on stage, and I think this is an example of that. So that in fact, it looks more pathetic than ridiculous when Hamlet does this, because we actually don't see him do it.
Interesting too, though, that with the Polonius being the schemer that he is, it points out just how unreliable these kinds of rumors and slanders are. That you can take something somebody's telling you about someone else and turn it into something completely different and use it for your own purposes. So what's he going to get if when Alder comes back and tells him anything? What is Polonius actually going to know about what Laertes is doing? Very little, but he'll make up his own stories about it. He'll make up his own mind about it, and either punish him or reduce his allowance or something, or reproach him in some way, when it may be that Laertes is innocent of any wrongdoing. But it's easy to get somebody to talk about somebody else, just the way just the way Ophelia is talking about Hamlet.
Do you get the sense,
it says more about Polonius than anything, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Him as a person and as a character.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't any reason to do this, as far as we know.
No. Do you get the sense,
and he's
Bill?
The same with his daughter. Sorry.
No, sorry. Do you get the sense, Bill, that there's also an element of Polonius, as he outlines the sins that he thinks his son may be committing, that he may be somewhat living vicariously through what his son is doing?
Yeah, or remembering his own. Usually people that are accusing others have done it themselves, or they wouldn't know anything about it. He's really a comic character. I find he's kind of a doddering old, a bit senile at this stage in his life. But yeah, there's some vicarious, what you would call it. There's a word I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, suspicion haunts guilty minds.
Yeah.
Or if he didn't do it, maybe he wishes he had done it. And is living vicariously that way,
Yeah, that's true too. But he is he not supposed to be the king's advisor, Polonius?
Yes.
Is he a counselor?
He is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But he formerly would have maybe been advisor to Hamlet's father, to Hamlet, but now he's advisor to Claudius. So yeah,
Yeah, which is its own irony
Yeah.
that he thinks himself so worldly wise, but he's totally missing the whole thing that has happened
Hmm.
with the king's death and the marriage to, yeah. Okay, the next reader is who? Help me.
Misha. Scene 2. A room in the castle. Flourish. Enter King, Queen, Rosencrantz, Guildenstern, and attendants. King. Welcome, dear Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Moreover, that we much did long to see you. The need we have to you should it provoke our hasty sending. Something have you heard of Hamlet's transformation, so call it. Sit, nor the exterior nor the inward man resembles that it was, what it should be, more than his father's death, that thus hate put him so much from the understanding of himself. I cannot dream of, I entreat you both, that being of so young days brought up with him, and sit so neighboured to his youth and behaviour, that you vouchsafe you rest here in our court some little time, by your companies to draw him unto pleasures, and to gather so much as from occasion you may glean, whether aught to us unknown afflicts him thus, that opened lies within our remedy. Queen. Good gentlemen, he hate much talked of you, and sure I am 2 men there are not living to whom he more adheres. If it will please you to show us so much gentry and goodwill, and to expend your time with us a while for the supply and profit of our home, your visitation shall receive such thanks as fits a king's resemblance. Rosencrantz, both your majesties might, by the sovereign power you have of us, put your dread pleasures more into command than to entreaty. Guildenstern, but we both obey, and here give up ourselves in the full bent to lay our service freely at your feet, to be commanded. Next page.
Oh, I guess that's me.
Mhm.
Thanks, Rosencrantz and gentle Guildenstern. Thanks, Guildenstern and gentle Rosencrantz. And I beseech you instantly to visit my too much changed son. Go, some of you, and bring these gentlemen where Hamlet is. Heavens make our presence and our practices pleasant and helpful to them. Ah, amen. Enter Polonius. The ambassadors from Norway, my good lord, are joyfully returned. Thou still hast been the father of good news. Have I, my lord? Assure you, my good liege, I hold my duty as I hold my soul, both to my God and to my gracious king. I do think, or else this brain of mine hunts not the trail of policy so sure as it had used to, that I have found the very cause of Hamlet's lunacy. Oh, speak of that. I long to hear. Give first admittance to the ambassadors. My good news shall be fruit to that great feast. Thyself do grace to them and bring them in. Exit Polonius. He tells me, my dear Gertrude, he had found the head and source of all your son's distemper. I doubt it is no other but the main, his father's death, and our o'er-hasty marriage. Well, we shall sift him. Enter Polonius, Voltimand, and Cornelius. Welcome, good friends. Say, Voltimand, what from our brother Norway? Most fair return of greeting and desires. Most fair return of greetings and desires. Upon our first, he sent out to suppress his nephew's levies, which to him appeared to be preparation against the Polak. But better looked into, he truly found it was against your highness, where it grieved that so his sickness, age, and impotence was falsely borne in hand, sends out arrests on Fortinbras, which he in brief obeys, receives rebuke from Norway, and in fine makes vow before his uncle nevermore to give the assay of arms against your majesty. Whereon old Norway, overcome with joy, gives him 70,000 crowns in annual fee, and is commissioned to employ those soldiers so levied as before against the Polak, with an entreaty herein further shown, gives a paper, that it might please you to give quiet paths through your dominions for this enterprise. On such regards of safety and allowance are therein set down. Why, it likes us well, and at our more considered time we'll read, answer, and think upon this business. Meanwhile, we thank you for your well-took labor. Go to your rest. At night we'll feast together. Most welcome home. Duncan.
Excellent, Voltimand and Cornelius. Lord Polonius. This business is well ended, my liege and madam. To expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, why day is day, night is night, and time is time, were nothing but to waste night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tedious the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad. Mad call I it. For to define true madness, what is it but to be nothing else but mad? But let that go. Queen Gertrude. More matter with less art? Lord Polonius. Madam, I swear I use no art, and pity 'tis true a foolish figure. And farewell it, for I will use no art. Mad, let us grant him then. And now remains that we may find out the cause of this effect, or rather say the cause of this defect. For this effect defective come by cause, thus it remains, and the remainder thus perpend. I have a daughter, have whilst she is mine, who in her duty and obedience mark has given me this, now gather and surmise. Reads, to the celestial and my soul's idol, the most beautified Ophelia. It's an ill phrase, a vile phrase. Beautified is a vile phrase, but you shall hear thus. Reads, in her excellent white bosom, these and etc. Queen Gertrude. Came this from Hamlet to her? Next, please.
Polonius. Good madam, stay a while, I will be faithful. Reads, doubt thee the stars are fire, doubt that the sun doth move, doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt I love. Dear, oh, dear Ophelia, I am ill at these numbers. I have not art to reckon my groans, but that I love thee best. O most best, believe it. Adieu. Thine evermore, most dear lady, whilst this machine is to him. Hamlet. This in obedience has my daughter shown me, and more above has his solicitings, as they fell out by time, by means and place, all given to mine eye. King. But how hath she received his love? Polonius. What do you think of me? King. As of a faithful and honourable man. Polonius. I would fain prove so, but what might you think when I have seen this hot love on the wing, as I perceived it? I must tell you that before my daughter told me. What might you, or my dear majesty, your queen here, think, if I had played the desk or table book, or given my heart a winking, mute and dumb, or looked upon this love with idle sight? What might you think? No, I went round to work, and my young mistress thus I bespake. Lord Hamlet is a prince out of thy star, This must not be. And then I prescripts gave to her, that she should lock herself from his resort, admit no messengers, receive no tokens, which done, she took the fruits of my advice, and he, repent a short tale to make, fell into sadness, then into a fast, thence to a watch, thence into a weakness, thence to a lightness, and by this declension into the madness now wherein he raves, and all we mourn for. King, what do you think 'tis this? Queen, it may be, very like. Next.
Polonius. Had there been such a time, I would fain know that I have positively said 'tis so, when it proved otherwise. King. Not that I know. Polonius points to his head and shoulder. Take this from this, if this be otherwise, if circumstances lead me, I will find where truth is hid, though it were hid indeed, within the centre. King. How may we try it further? Polonius. You know sometimes he walks 4 hours together here in the lobby. Queen. So he does indeed. Polonius. At such time I loose my daughter to him. Be you and I behind the arras then. Mark the encounter if he love her not, and be not from his reason fallen thereon. Let me be no assistance for a state, but keep a farm and carters. King, we will try it. Enter Hamlet, reading a book. Queen, but look, where sadly the poor wretch comes reading. Polonius, always I do beseech you both away. I'll board him presently, oh, give me leave. Exeunt King and Queen. How does my lord Hamlet? Hamlet. Well, God have mercy. Polonius. Do you know me, my lord? Hamlet. Excellent well. You're a fishmonger. Polonius. Not I, my lord. Hamlet. Then I would you were so honest a man. Polonius. Honest, my lord? Hamlet. Aye, sir, to be honest, as this world goes, is to be one man picked out of 10,000. Polonius. That's very true, my lord. Hamlet. So, Hamlet, for if the sun breed maggots in a dead dog, being a good kissing carrion, have you a daughter? Polonius. I have, my lord. Hamlet. Let her not walk in the sun. Conception is a blessing, but as your daughter may conceive. Friend, look to it. Polonius aside. How say you that? How say you by that? Still harping on my daughter. Yet he knew me not at first. He said I was a fishmonger. He is far gone, and truly in my youth I suffered much extremity of love. Very near this, I'll speak to him again. What do you read, my lord? Next, please.
Hamlet. Words, words, words. Polonius. What is the matter, my lord? Hamlet. Between who? Polonius. I mean the matter that you read, my lord. Hamlet. Slanders, sir, for the satirical rogue says here that old men have gray beards, that their faces are wrinkled, their eyes purging thick amber and plum tree gum, and that they have a plentiful lack of wit, together with most weak hams. All which, sir, though I most powerfully and potently believe, yet I hold it not honesty to have it thus set down. For yourself, sir, shall grow old as I am, if like a crab you could go backward. Polonius aside. Though this be madness, yet there's method in it. Will you walk out of the air, my lord? Hamlet. Into my grave? Polonius. Yes, that's out of the air. Aside. How pregnant sometimes his replies are. A happiness that often madness hits on, which reason and sanity could not so prosperously be delivered of. I will leave him, and suddenly contrive the means of meeting between him and my daughter. My honorable lord, I will take my leave of you. Hamlet, you cannot, sir, take from me anything that I will more willingly part withal, except my life, except my life, except my life. Polonius, fare you well, my lord. Hamlet, these tedious old fools. Next, please.
Enter Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Polonius, you go seek the Lord Hamlet. There he is. Rosencrantz to Polonius. God save you, sir. Exit Polonius. Guildenstern. My honored lord. Rosencrantz. My most dear lord. Hamlet. My excellent good friends. How dost thou? Guildenstern. Ah, Rosencrantz, good lads. How do ye both? Rosencrantz. As the indifferent children of the earth. Guildenstern. Happy in that we are not over happy. On fortune's cap, we are not the very button. Hamlet. Nor the soles of her shoe. Rosencrantz. Neither, my lord. Hamlet. Then you live about her waist, or in the middle of her favors? Guildenstern. Faith, her privates we. Hamlet. In the secret parts of fortune. Oh, most true, she is a strumpet. What's the news? Rosencrantz. None, my lord, but that the world's grown honest. Hamlet. Then is doomsday near. But your news is not true. Let me question more in particular. What have you, my good friends, deserved at the hands of fortune, that she sends you to prison hither? Guildenstern. Prison, my lord. Hamlet. Denmark's a prison. Rosencrantz. Then is the world one. Hamlet. A goodly one, in which there are many confines, wards, and dungeons, Denmark being one of the worst. Rosencrantz. We think not so, my lord. Hamlet. Why then, 'tis none to you, for there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. To me it is a prison. Rosencrantz. Why then your ambition makes it one. 'Tis too narrow for your mind. Hamlet. Oh God, I could be a bounder in a nutshell and count myself a king of infinite space, were it not that I have bad dreams. Guildenstern. Which dreams indeed are ambition, for the very substance of the ambitious is merely the shadow of a dream. Hamlet. A dream itself is but a shadow. Rosencrantz. Truly, and I hold ambition of so airy and light a quality that it is but a shadow's shadow. Hamlet. Then are our beggars' bodies, and our monarchs and outstretched heroes the beggars' shadows. Shall we to the court? For by my fay, I cannot reason. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Will wait upon you. Hamlet. No such matter. I will not sort you with the rest of my servants, for to speak to you like an honest man, I am most dreadfully attended. But in the beaten way of friendship, what make you at Elsinore? Rosencrantz. To visit you, my lord, no other occasion. Hamlet. Beggar that I am even poor in thanks, but I thank you. And sure, dear friends, my thanks are too dear a halfpenny. Were you not sent for? Is it your own inclining? Is it a free visitation? Come, deal justly with me. Come, come. Nay, speak. Guildenstern. What should we say, my lord? Hamlet. Why, anything, but to the purpose. You were sent for, and there is a kind of confession in your looks which your modesties have not craft enough to color. I know the good king and queen have sent for you. Rosencrantz. To what end, my lord? Hamlet. That you must teach me. But let me conjure you by the rights of our fellowship, by the consonancy of our youth, by the obligation of our ever-preserved love, and by what more dear a better proposer could charge you withal, be even and direct with me, whether you were sent for or no. Rosencrantz, and aside to Guildenstern, what say you? Hamlet, aside, nay then, I have an eye of you. If you love me, hold not off. Guildenstern, my lord, we were sent for. Hamlet, I will tell you why, so shall my anticipation prevent your discovery, and your secrecy to the king and queen moult no feather. I have of late, but wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth, forgone all custom of exercises, and indeed it goes so heavily with my disposition that this goodly frame, the earth, seems to me a sterile promontory. This most excellent canopy, the air, look you, this brave overhanging firmament, this majestical roof fretted with gold and fire, why, it appears no other thing to me than a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. What a piece of work is a man! How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. And yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Man delights not me, no, nor woman neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so. Next, please.
Rosencrantz, my lord, there was no such stuff in my thoughts. Hamlet, why did you laugh then when I said man delights not me? Rosencrantz, to think, my lord, if you delight not in man, what Lenten entertainment the players shall receive from you. Recruited them on the way, and hither are they coming to offer you service. Hamlet, he that plays the king shall be welcome. His majesty shall have tribute of me. The adventurous knight shall use his foil and target. The lover shall not sigh gratis. The humorous man shall end his part in peace. The clown shall make those laugh whose lungs are tickled over the air, and the lady shall say her mind freely, or the blank verse shall halt for tea. What players are they? Rosencrantz, even those who were wont to take such delight in the tragedians of the city. Hamlet, how chances if they travel? Their residence, both in reputation and profit, was better both ways. Rosencrantz, I think their inhibition comes by the means of the late inhibition. Hamlet, do they hold the same estimation they did when I was in the city? Are they so followed? Rosencrantz, no, indeed are they not. Hamlet, how comes it? Do they grow rusty? Rosencrantz, nay, their endeavour keeps in the wonted place. But there is, sir, an eyrie of children. Little eyries that cry out at the top of questions and are most tyrannical clap for teas. These are now the fashion, and so be rattled the common stages, so that they call them that many wearying rapiers are afraid of goose quills, and dare scarce come hither. Hamlet, what are they children? Who maintains them? How are they escorted? Will they pursue the quality no longer than they can sing? Will they not say afterwards if they should grow themselves to common players, as it is most like? If their means are no better, their writers do them wrong, to make them exclaim against their own succession. Next, please.
Faith, there has been much to do on both sides, and the nation holds it no sin to tear them to controversy. There was for a while no money bid for argument, unless the poet and the player went to cuffs in the question. Is it possible? Oh, there's been much throwing about of brains. Do the boys carry it away? Aye, that they do, my lord. Hercules and his load too. It is not very strange, for my uncle is king of Denmark, and those that would make mouths at him while my father lived give 20, 40, 50, 100 ducats apiece for his pitcher in little. Splud! There's something in this more than natural, if philosophy could find it out. a flourish. There are the players. Gentlemen, you are welcome to Elsinore. Your hands, come then. The appurtenance of welcome is fashion and ceremony. Let me comply with you in this garb, lest my extent to the players, which I tell you must show fairly outwards, should appear more like entertainment than yours. You are welcome, but my uncle father and aunt mother are deceived. In what, my dear lord? I am but mad northwest. When the wind is southerly, I know a hawk from a handsaw. Enter Polonius. Well be with you, gentlemen. Hark you, Guildenstern, and you too, at each ear a hearer. That great baby you see there is not yet out of his swaddling clouts. Happily, he is the second time come to them, for they say an old man is twice a child. I will prophesy. He comes to tell me of the players' market. You say right, sir, a Monday morning. 'Twas then indeed. My lord, I have news to tell you. My lord, I have news to tell you. When Roscius was an actor in Rome, the actors are come hither, my lord. Buzz, buzz. Upon my honor. Then came each actor upon his ass, the best actors in the world, either for tragedy, comedy, history, pastoral, comedy, historical, pastoral, tragical, historical, tragical, comical, historical, pastoral, scene individual, or poem unlimited. Seneca cannot be too heavy, nor Plautus too light. For the law of writ and liberty, these are the only men. O Jephthah, judge of Israel, what a treasure hadst thou? What a treasure had he, my lord? Why, one fair daughter, and no more, the which he loved passing well. Still on my daughter? Am I not in the right, old Jephthah? If you call me Jephthah, my lord, I have a daughter that I love passing well. Nay, that follows not. What follows then, my lord? Why, as by lot God wot. And then you know, if it came to pass, as most like it was you, the first row of the pious Chaunson will show you more, for look where my abridgment comes. Enter the players. You are welcome, masters, welcome all. I am glad to see thee well. Welcome, good friends, old friend. Why, thy face is valanced since I saw thee last. Comest thou to beard me in Denmark? What, my young lady and mistress? By your lady, your ladyship is nearer to heaven than when I saw you last by the altitude of a Chopin. Pray God your voice, like a piece of uncurrent gold, be not cracked within the ring. Masters, you are all welcome. Well, e'en to it, like French falconers. Fly at anything we see. We'll have a speech straight. Come, give us a taste of your quality. Come, a passionate speech. Duncan?
What speech, my lord? Hamlet. I heard thee speak me a speech once, but it was never acted, or if it was, not above once. For the play, I remember, pleased not the million. 'Twas caviar to the general, but it was, as I received it, and others whose judgment in such matters cried in the top of mine, an excellent play, well digested in the scene, set down with as much modesty as cunning. I remember one said there were no salads in the line to make the matter savory, nor any matter in the phrase that might indict the author of affectation, but called it an honest method, as wholesome as sweet, and by very much more handsome than fine. One speech in it I chiefly loved. 'Twas Aeneas' tale to Dido, and thereabouts of it, especially when he speaks of Priam's slaughter. If it live in my memory, begin at this line. Let me see. The rugged Pyrrhus, like the Hyrcanian beast. It is not so. It begins with Pyrrhus, the rugged Pyrrhus, he whose sable arms, black as his purpose, did the night resemble, when he laid couched in the ominous horse. hath now this dread in black complexion smeared, with heraldry more dismal head to foot. Now is be total goals, horridly tricked with blood of father, mothers, daughters, sons, baked and impasted with the parching streets, that lent a tyrannous and a damned light to their vile murders, roasted in wrath and fire, and thus oversized with coagulate gore, with eyes like carbuncles the hellish Pyrrhus, old grandsire Priam seeks, so proceeding. Next, please.
Polonius. For God, my lord, well spoken, with good accent and good discretion. Player. And on he finds him, striking two shorted Greeks, his antique sword, rebellious to his arms, lies where it falls, repugnant to command. Unequal matched, Pyrrhus at Priam drives, in rage strikes wild, but with the whiff and wind of his fell sword, though unnerved, father falls. Then senseless Ilium, seeming to feel this blow, with flaming top stoops to his base, and with a hideous crash takes prisoner Pyrrhus' ear. For lo, his sword, which was declining on the milky head of Reverend Priam, seemed in air to stick, so as a painted tyrant Pyrrhus stood, and like a neutral to his will and matter did nothing. But as we see often, against some storm, as silence in the heavens, the rack stands still, the bold winds speechless, and the orb below as hushed as death. Anon the dreadful thunder doth rend the region. So after Pyrrhus' pause, aroused vengeance sets him new at work. And never did the Cyclops' hammers fall on Mars' armour, forged for proof eterne, with less remorse than Pyrrhus' bleeding sword now falls on Priam. Out, out, thou trumpet fortune! All you gods and general synod, take away her power, break all the spokes and fellies from her wheel, and bowl the round nave down to the hill of heaven, as low as to the fiends. Polonius. This is too long. Hamlet. It shall to the barbers with your beard. Prithee, say on. He's for a jig or a tale of baldry, or he sleeps. Say on, come to Hecuba. Next.
First player. But who, woe, had seen the mob queen? Hamlet. The mobbled queen? Polonius. That's good. Mobbled queen is good. First player. Run barefoot up and down, threading the flames, with bison rheum, a clout upon that head, where late the diadem stood, and for a robe, about her lank and all o'er teemed loins. The blanket is the alarm, a fear caught up. Whose this had seen with tongue of venom steeped? 'Gainst fortune a state would treason have pronounced. But if the gods themselves did see her then, when she saw Prius make malicious sport, in mincing with his sword her husband's limbs, the instant's burst of clamour that she made, unless things mortal moved them not at all, would have made milch the burning eyes of heaven and passion in the gods. Polonius, look, whether he has not turned his colour and has tears in his eyes, prithee no more. Hamlet. 'Tis well I'll have thee speak out the rest of this soon. Good, my lord. Will you see the players well bestowed? Did you hear? Let them be well used, for they are the abstract and brief chronicles of the time. After your death, you were better have a bad epitaph than their ill report while you live. Polonius. My lord, I will use them according to their desert. Hamlet. God's bodkin, man much better, use every man after his desert. And who shall scrape whipping? Use them after your own honour and dignity. The less they deserve, the more merit is in your bounty. Take them in. Polonius. Come, sirs. Hamlet. Follow him, friends, and we'll hear a play tomorrow. Exeunt Polonius and players, except the first. Dost thou hear me, old friend? Can you play the murder of Gonzago? First player. Aye, my lord. Hamlet. We'll have that tomorrow night. You could, for a need, study a speech of some 12 or 16 lines, which I shall set down and insert in it. Could you not? First player. Aye, my lord. Hamlet. Very well. Follow that lord, and look you mock him not. Exeunt first player. My good friends, I'll leave you till night. You are welcome to Elsinore. Rosencrantz. Good, my lord. Exeunt Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Hamlet. I so, God buy to you. Now I am alone. Oh, what a rogue and pleasant peasant slave I am. Is it not monstrous that this player here, but in fiction in a dream of passion, could force his soul so as to his own conceit, that from her working all his visage waned, tears in his eyes, distraction in his aspect, a broken voice, and his whole function suiting? What forms to this conceit, and all for nothing, for Hecuba? What's Hecuba to him, or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her? What would he do? Had he the motive and the cue of passion that I have? He would drown the stage with tears, and cleave the general ear with horrid speech, make mad the guilty and appall the free, confound the ignorant and amaze indeed the very faculties of eyes and ears. Let I, a dull and muddy mettled rascal, peak, like John a dreams, and pregnant of my cause, and you can say nothing, no, not for a king, upon whose property and most dear life a damned defeat was made. Am I a coward? Calls me villain, breaks my plate across, plucks off my beard and blows it in my face, tweaks me by my nose, gives me a lie i' the throat as deep as to the lungs. Who does me this? At wounds I should take it, for I cannot be, but I am pigeon-livered and lack gall to make oppression bitter, and o'er this I shall ever fatten all the regent kites with this slave's offal. Bloody body villain, remorseless, treacherous, lecherous, kindless villain, O vengeance! Why an ass am I? This is most brave, that I, the son of a dear father murdered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, must like a whore unpack my heart with words, and fall a cursing like a very drab, a scullion. Fie upon foe! I, bout my brains hum, I have heard that guilty capture sitting at a play, have by the very cunning of the scene been struck so as to the soul, that presently they have proclaimed their malefictions. For murder, though it had no tongue, will speak with most miraculous organ. I'll have these players play something like the murder of my father before mine uncle. I'll observe his looks. I'll tempt him to the quick. If he do blench, I'll know my course. The spirit that I have seen may be a devil, and the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape. Yea, and perhaps, out of my weakness and my melancholy, as he is very potent with such spirits, abuses me to damn me, I'll have grounds more relative than this, the play's the thing, wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. Exit.
Brilliant. Now,
So he's setting up his uncle.
mhm. Indeed.
This whole scene is so thick and rich and convoluted.
I don't know about convoluted. I think it's pretty straightforward, but
Okay.
it's really, it fascinates me and impresses me so much that Shakespeare um, would have so much to say about theater and
Mm-hmm.
acting and plays and the ability of a writer to make people weep, to make them confess, to make,
Mm-hmm.
the written word as it's performed has such power. And
Mm-hmm.
then to have Joyce use Shakespeare in the same way is just, it's just so remarkable to me. Joyce is such a genius. To have the whole Hamlet bit in Ulysses is just pure genius. I mean, it's not just
Mm-hmm.
accidental. It's not just um, because it was current at the time to question the authorship, though that gives him an excuse. I think there's so much more in it.
Mm-hmm. Um, if you don't mind, I'd like to take this just a piece at a time
Mm-hmm.
and start off with the whole scene with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern when Claudius and Gertrude are talking with them. Which I mean, they're supposedly lifelong friends of Hamlet, as I understand it. And yet I see them more than willing to follow Claudius's commands.
Well, it's not a question of being willing. He's the king. They would, first of all, they would have to. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a question of being willing or unwilling. Secondly, they also share the concern for reports of Hamlet's madness. And being his friends, they would be interested in finding out what's wrong with him, and trying to help him if they can. So I don't see it as being in any way a betrayal of theirs to do that. And Hamlet sees right through it. He says,
Mm-hmm.
he
Is
calls
it?
them out right away that, you were
Yeah,
sent
come
for.
clean. Tell me,
Yeah.
why you're here and what you're supposed to be doing. Yes.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And he had to do that multiple times. It took him a while before they kind of fessed up.
But isn't it a question of the old question of, that we're facing today about what is truth?
Yes.
They just don't know what reality is.
Yeah, and maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, it seems with lifelong friends that even if they'd heard the rumors about his madness, as far as we know from what we have in front of us, they just have reports of it. And I would think that they would actually want to see Hamlet and test him out, so to speak.
Sure.
I take your point, Bill, about Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, but on the other hand, I have to say I find them equivocal characters. If you look at the language that the king uses to get them to really spy on their friend, uh, that should be a bit of a red flag. And also, they're promised a reward. They're going to be paid off for doing it.
Mhm.
The Queen says this, and they don't go, no, we don't need money. We're doing this because we care about Hamlet. They're going, they're more than there's silence, and in the law, silence generally indicates consent. They're willing to take money for doing this. So I'm kind of seeing it from both sides here. I absolutely take your point, but I think that there's another way to look at it too. And I think Shakespeare deliberately keeps us walking that knife edge with those two characters.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going for the portrayal side, you know. Uh, sure, we'll sell our friend if it gets us something.
I don't see that at all, but
Okay.
that's me.
Okay.
I mean, well, I don't know, but especially in those days, it's hard to think about now. But if a king um, invites you to his court, and as we've seen, Laertes can't leave without his permission.
Right.
Nobody is free to do what they want. They're at his
Yeah, right.
mercy.
The king is the king.
And so if he's called them and is giving them an order, they don't have any choice. I mean, they could die. They could be
Hmm.
put to death just as easily as anything else. But I don't see this as a major betrayal. I think this is they're given a duty. They're given and ostensibly it's because, and I think Claudius and Gertrude are themselves betrayers and duplicitous and
Yes.
liars. They are feigning concern for Hamlet
Hmm.
with two people that they know are concerned for Hamlet. Um, so they're not being completely honest with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. But I don't see the two of them as being betrayers of Hamlet.
Yeah.
So if they
I
called
have to say,
Horatio, go ahead, go ahead.
no, go, Dave.
I was just going to say, Bill, again, like I certainly do take your point, but I see the other side too. If they
Mhm.
called Horatio and asked Horatio to do the same thing, do you think they'd have the same reaction? Because I mean, Horatio would be in the same boat as Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. You're given a direct order by an absolute monarch, and yet I just can't see Horatio doing it. Whereas these guys readily accede to it.
Well, and we know what happens afterwards. I mean, it is one thing when you're faced with the king to say, "Oh yes, of course, oh, yeah, you bet, we'll do this, of course, of course." But perhaps I have, I guess I can't say an old-fashioned sense of friendship, but I mean, it would be like as soon as they got together with Hamlet and they saw that Hamlet actually wasn't completely mad, that they would come right out and say, the king is, yeah, we were called here by the king and the queen because they're concerned about you, and this is the skinny on it.
But they are primarily Claudius's courtiers rather than Hamlet's friends. They're
Okay.
not, I mean, they are first of all subjects of Claudius. They are members of his court. They're not
Hmm.
they're not listed as friend of Hamlet the way Horatio in the cast of characters, Horatio is listed as friend of Hamlet. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are one of half dozen or other courtiers. That's all they are. They're
Okay.
just
Okay.
so they are absolutely under Claudius's control. They have no
Mm.
they have no independence, and they don't have any necessarily. It's not. I don't think it's a betrayal because I don't think they have necessarily any uh, great
Loyalties to him.
loyalty to
But
Hamlet.
if they're a
They,
friend,
they've
friend,
just they've
friend,
just known him. I mean, they've been in courtiers. They've been in the court for a long time. They've kind of grown up with Hamlet, but I wouldn't say they're the friends of Hamlet that Horatio
Okay.
is.
Okay.
Okay, but Bill, to come back, okay, I'll take your point on that, but they still are described in terms which I would consider, coach friendship. And this is the Queen speaking. Good gentleman, he hath much talked of you, and sure I am two men there is not living to whom he more adheres. So to me, that would be speak of friendship. Yeah, is it as solid a friendship as with Horatio? Probably not. But that still talks about commercializing the friendship, if I could put it that way. By paying them off to go and do this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the discussion between you and Bill has given me a wider version of Guildenstern and Rosencrantz, and I'm more, teetering back and forth.
Which I think you're meant to do. That's my point. I am
Mhm.
absolutely not denying what Bill says. I just think that we're walking the knife edge between these
Mhm.
visions. Yeah.
And I see them as, these two, the king and queen, they reel them in, dear and good gentlemen, they almost seduce them. And then they immediately, the Craft and Guildenstern responded by saying, we'll obey your command. We didn't quite
Yeah,
say
you
that.
don't have to ask us, just command us. We'll do it.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that's how I saw it.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
this is a footnote, but if you ever want to see things from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's standpoint, watch the play Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. It
Mhm.
is very well written.
But that's just another point of view and not Shakespeare's necessarily, of
Correct,
course.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
I agree. But I think it's an interesting footnote to this whole business.
Yeah.
So, so in the play, there's a movie, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Hamlet is kind of a bit character. These two guys are trying to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we are as well.
Absolutely
And
correct.
we are as well, and I think we've done a good job, and perhaps we should go to the next scene within the scene, which is the ambassador for Norway and all of that. Um, which is another example of what is truth here, because of course the way it's reported is that Claudius has sent ambassadors to go complain about young Fortinbras to his uncle. And the report that's coming back is that his uncle, oh yeah, his uncle investigated and found out that Fortinbras was overstepping his line, and he's told him that, blah blah blah. And he's given him permission to invade Poland and has given him, all this money and all that. But we know that,
And yeah, and might you give him leave to travel through Denmark to get to Poland? It's like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, he's definitely playing fast and loose with the truth there. But
And how easily Claudius and Gertrude are taken in. For all of their duplicity, for some reason accept the report from Voldemort and the uncle as being okay. So that's,
well, I
we
think
figured out
they're
a problem and the uncle's solving it.
yeah, I think that's an indication of their own hubris and the feelings that they have, Claudius and Gertrude, of how powerful they are.
Mm-hmm.
That of course Norway's going to listen to our complaint and take action, because otherwise, they're going to deal with
They'll
us
be in
like
trouble.
they'll be in trouble. Yeah. And so, Claudius is, I think, um, anxious, eager to believe uh, the report from Norway, because it just puffs up his own ego. It makes him the big man on the block. See what I did?
All
All
I
I
had
had
to
to do
do was
was
say something, and they
yeah,
just
right.
kneeled right under my,
Yeah.
did what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Just before we came to that, I think there's a line that maybe we would do well to at least acknowledge, and that's the Queen's line at 56. So the king says to her that Polonius is going to come because he figures he's found out the cause of Hamlet's madness. And the Queen, I just point this line out because for me, the Queen is a fascinating but elusive character. And she puts her finger right on it. I doubt it is no other but the main, his father's death and our or hasty marriage. And that is like right on.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
nails it. And there's a lot of background noise, but she cuts to the marrow of the matter right here. As I said, she's an interesting, but for me, an elusive character. I'm not sure how to.
There's a couple of things that the Queen says in this whole
Right.
scene that makes me feel that she has more agency in all this whole thing
Right.
than
Right.
that she's it's not like Claudius killed her husband and then proposed to her afterwards. There's a little feeling that she kind of knew she was involved in the original plot. Not completely, but I have my suspicions just from some things she said here.
You mean she knew that Claudius was going to kill her husband?
That's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm,
She did
that's
know.
where I'm leaning more towards that. I'm not totally convinced, but I'm leaning more towards that from
Hmm.
some things that she said. And Dave just pointed out the one, and there's another one or two statements that she makes, which I'll
Hmm.
try to point out as we come to them.
Katrina, I think for me, it's when I look at the Queen, it's agency question mark. But I think
Yeah.
Duncan used the right word, agency, and I think that's the issue that we all are trying to sort out as we read the play. And I sure haven't yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, as we go on in the play, I mean, Hamlet is going to be the king himself, the dead king. When he talked to Hamlet, he said, take care of Claudius and let heaven take care of the queen. I think that was in the when Hamlet Senior appeared to Hamlet Junior. I think that's in there.
Yeah.
So, that gets yeah. All right, so then we had the
Yeah,
Baltimore.
you got it. I got found the line. Taint not thy mind, nor let thy soul contrive against thy mother aught. Leave her to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and to those thorns that in her bosom lodge, to prick and sting her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's uh, I think that's designed to be a more punishment than
Yeah.
just what Claudius is going to get.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not that the ghost that his father thinks she's innocent in any way. He knows that she's as guilty as Claudius and
Right.
conspired.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's not denying that she might be as guilty, but he's trying to relieve his son of the agony of matricide, which is a whole nother kettle of fish than just killing your uncle who killed your father.
Hmm. Well, I mean, he does. The ghost does claim anyway that Claudius seduced her to it. That really Claudius is behind it all. But with witchcraft of his wit, with traitorous gifts of wicked wit and gifts that have the power to seduce, won to his shameful lust the will of my most seeming virtuous queen.
So is the implication there that Claudius talked her into it before he actually killed Hamlet Sr.?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that she gave assent to it, as it
That
were?
the king was cuckolded by Claudius with the queen before he died, before he was murdered.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I find it, I'm uncertain as to whether, a total agreement with Bill on that. For me, the uncertainty is, was she aware or participating in the business of killing her husband?
Well, I don't think she, yeah. Well, I'll just state my opinion based upon not much, that no, she didn't participate in killing the king, but she knew ahead of time, according to what Bill was saying, that Claudius was going to kill her husband and then marry her. And then, of course, we have this whole
Yeah, because sorry to interrupt, but just to go to the bedroom scene, it's 3-4. He says, a bloody deed almost as bad, good mother, as kill a king and marry his father. She does not deny the marriage, the romantic part, but she goes to kill a king. So unless she's play acting there, I mean, she seems ignorant of it, of her role in it. Although, I mean, she'd have to be aware that this was a coincidence. Okay, we're having an affair, and then suddenly my husband dies quick, suddenly, very conveniently. I mean, she must at least have had her suspicions.
Well, I think we also have to acknowledge that in a murderer's mind or a criminal mind, that they would make these fine distinctions between talking in advance about killing the king and then the person who actually kills the king. So, the king was killed by the poison being poured in his ear, and that was Claudius. So the queen could be, like really parsing this situation and saying, well, I didn't kill him because I didn't pour the poison in his ear. So I'm not as guilty as Claudius. Claudius did it.
Well, nobody knows that there was poison in his ear except the ghost and Claudius. But you can't discount, we haven't seen it yet, but you can't discount the out damp spot scene where she feels as guilty as Claudius, as responsible for the death of her husband.
Okay.
And she's her hands are bloody, and she's trying to wash them off, and they won't come clean, and she's
Isn't that Macbeth?
Yeah, it's Macbeth.
Sorry.
But your analogy's good, Bill. It's a good Macbeth analogy to apply to Hamlet. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm mixing my metaphors.
Was the same writer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
About approximately the same time period too, when they were.
It's an honest mistake, but it's a very egregious mistake, I must admit. My sincere apologies.
But there is some philosophical truth to it still. I mean, it's I think well that you raised the issue. Yeah. So then we get just to kind of move it along. We then get one of the great lines about brevity being the soul of wit.
Where's that?
Yes, just a sec. It's line 90 in my edition. Therefore, since brevity of the soul of wit, and it comes from one of the most loquacious characters.
It's a great joke. I mean,
it is, Bill,
because he's going on and on and on, and then, but let me be brief.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
My old Shakespeare prof at university, a wonderful man, said, "Beware, because he sometimes puts the greatest pearls of wisdom into the mouths of some of his most objectionable characters."
Yeah.
And there's an
And the fools, yes.
Well, and
Yeah.
this is the character of Polonius. I mean, Polonius has, has all these nuggets of wisdom, but he just, mixes them and draws them out, and, you know,
and again, it's the queen who calls him. More
yeah,
matter with less
more
art. I mean,
matter with less art.
talk
Yeah.
about a succinct comeuppance. More matter with less art.
So, what do you think of Joyce's using Polonius as a model for Poldy in some way? I mean, Bloom has the same. He's
Yeah.
he talks a lot. He gets things mixed up all the time. And there's something in the name, I think, Polonius and Poldy, maybe.
Hmm.
I think yes, you're right in terms of the way he speaks and the arguments that he manufactures. They do have a definitely a Polonius aspect to them. However, Bloom is has more heart, has more real heart. And although he makes tremendous amounts of mistakes, they are all of his mistakes are kind of meant kindly, or he's trying to move things forward. Whereas I think Polonius is just he's like a bureaucrat.
He's trying to curry favor with the powers that
Yeah,
be. I
he's
mean,
he's
he's
an ass kisser and a
yeah, right. Well, so is Bloom,
Mm.
literally.
oh yeah. Anyway, lots of fun there between Gertrude and Polonius, and Polonius prattles on and on. Um, so very likely Polonius. And then we have Hamlet again. More pointed comedy with Hamlet and the fishmonger.
Yes, which has a double meaning according to my notes of
Yeah,
being somebody who sells fish and a procurer.
a pimp. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Ah, okay.
yeah. It's a pejorative term for yeah, certainly.
Okay, it's not just a job description, but
No,
is
no,
a
no, no. Yeah, so Hamlet's making fun of him and accusing him of pimping his daughter to him.
mm-hmm.
but there's that image of at 180, where Hamlet says, "For if the sun breed maggots on a dead dog, being a good kiss and carrion, have you a daughter?"
Mm-hmm.
That is a kind of a disgusting image, isn't it?
Yes.
Best not to read it before a meal.
Yeah, well, you got the lines before that. Hamlet says, "Then I would you were so honest a man." Honest, my lord? Hamlet, aye, sir. To be honest, as this world goes, is to be one man picked out of 10,000. And then it goes into if the sun breed maggots and a dead dog. And my text reads after the dead dog, being a God-kissing carrion.
I'm sad, read. I'm just replying to someone.
I've got good.
You've got good? Okay. Well,
What
does
what is
anybody
a
else have God kissing or do you have good kissing?
$182?
Yeah, I have
Like
good
when
kissing as well.
you have
Good.
good kissing as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
What scene is that?
that's line 181 to 182.
I don't have lines listed in mine.
I don't have
Okay.
lines
Oh,
in
it's
mine.
the scene where Polonius and Hamlet are talking, where Hamlet refers to Polonius as a fishmonger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you go
You know
there,
where it's where enter Hamlet reading a book, and then it's further
yeah,
down.
yeah. I have to say that I prefer God kissing carrion myself.
It's fun with the translations, isn't it?
Well, I'm reading out of a Kindle version
Oh,
that's
yeah.
got complete Shakespeare. Um, and Kindles sometimes, when these complete works, are not the most fastidious about, they probably got some slave in India typing as fast as he can.
This Pelican
Oh,
Shakespeare.
Pelican should be good.
Yeah. But
Okay, well, I would go ahead and go
Continues.
further than that, where Hamlet is really raking poor Polonius over the coals. Slander, sir, for the satirical slave says here that old men have gray beards, that their faces are wrinkled, their eyes purging thick amber and plum tree gum, and goes on and on and on. Ending with, should be as old as I am, if like a crab you could go backwards. Okay. Tell me if I'm going too fast at this point, but I'm flipping up to the scene where Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and Hamlet are talking to each other.
isn't that amazing? All these sayings that we hear of in the next bit, though they madness, yet there is a method in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Method in the it's amazing to
Yeah.
hear these things from expressions that we use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Shakespeare, sometimes it feels like, a quarter to half of all of our sayings come from Shakespeare.
Yeah, yeah. But does anybody think that he's sort of playing? He talks about conception, may your daughter but as your daughter may conceive. And then in a later bit he says pregnant sometimes in his replies. He's kind of playing around
Yeah.
with words.
Yeah. This was the original sitcom stuff.
Mm.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of the plays and all that, these were not written uh, for the gentry.
No,
They,
that's
they had to include a lot of stuff that the common person could enjoy and get a kick out of.
And as well, he says there in line at around 248, for there is nothing either good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. And that's the whole premise, like, of cognitive behavior therapy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, he was so much ahead of, yeah, really clever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and then I mean, I have no idea. There's that whole thing when he's talking to the players is so dense. Can you walk us through that, Bill?
Yeah, I think I could.
Okay, because you know
Let me find it.
Mm.
Well, again, it's a scene of betrayal, that of Aeneas betraying Dido. It's he says he asks him to get, he hasn't seen him in a long time. He says, "Give us a speech," and they ask him what speech, and he goes on and on about what a good speech it was, even though it was never performed. One speech in it I chiefly loved, 'twas Aeneas' tale to Dido, and thereabout of it especially, where he speaks of Priam's slaughter. If it
Mhm.
live in your memory, begin at this line. Let me see, let me see. The rugged Pyrrhus, like the Hyrcanian beast. It is not so. It begins with Pyrrhus, the rugged Pyrrhus, he whose sable arms, black as his purpose, did the night resemble when he lay couched in the ominous horse, hath now this dread and black complexion smeared with heraldry more dismal. Head to foot now is he total jewels, horridly tricked with blood of fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, baked and empasted with parching streets that lend a tyrannous and damned light to their lord's murder, roasted in wrath and fire, and thus o'ersized, and with coagulate gore, with eyes like carbuncles, the hellish Pyrrhus old grandsire Priam seeks. So proceed you.
Mhm.
So he's thinking, he's already got his plan to use the players to perform the scene that mirrors Claudius's deed, the murder of a king
Mm-hmm.
and the usurpation of a throne. And he's going to see, as we know, he wants to see what
Right.
reaction,
His reaction is right.
what reaction there'll be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
And then after he sends away most of the players and he's talking solely to the head of the troop,
mhm.
he is talking to him and saying, "Hey, I'm going to write some new lines that
Right,
I want you to slip into the play."
right.
Mhm.
Yep.
So this is a long scene to begin with in a very long play. I'm wondering why um, Shakespeare devoted so much time to that speech. I mean, the prose is kind of bombastic and so forth, and it's a contrast to to the rest of the play that Shakespeare, at the top of his game here has written. I'm just wondering, why is this speech made so long in
Uh,
a play which is pretty long anyway?
yeah, this is okay. So I'm just going to bring out some half-baked knowledge that I have not thoroughly digested. But my understanding is this is a tirade against a trend that was happening at the time among theater groups. And that there were actually some youth groups that were going about. It sounded like the standard thing where some entrepreneurs realized that many people who went to plays didn't need to see the best stuff. And so they would get like child actor troupes together to tromp around. And this was having an economic effect on the quote more legitimate theaters. And so there's a lot of that stuff going on here. Which if I could put it crudely, it's like, stick with us. We're the good stuff.
But
You know,
the other aspect of it is, though, Shakespeare's quoting a play within the play. This isn't Shakespeare's words he's quoting. He's quoting the player's production of another play, feature that talks about Pyrrhus and Priam, um, and what happened to him. So first, so first, Hamlet's trying to remember. He remembers the scene, but he can't quite get it. How does it start? How does it start? Then he starts and he starts again, and he gets it pretty well. And then Polonius compliments Hamlet, and then the first player takes up the same speech or the same play from where Hamlet left off, and then continues it. Anon, he finds him striking too short at Greeks, his antique sword rebellious to his arm. So this isn't a speech this isn't, I don't think these are the words of Shakespeare. They are, but they're meant to be the words of the player um, giving the speech about Pyrrhus and Priam.
mhm.
Now now falls on Priam. But out thy strumpet fortune, all you gods and generals synod, take away her power, blah, 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 as low as to the fiends. And there's a quotation, the end of a quote, and then Polonius says, this is too long. And Hamlet says, it shall be to the barbers with your beard. So, he's going to cut it. Um,
Of all the characters
yeah,
to make that comment.
right, exactly.
So the character Hamlet must be fairly familiar with plays and be able to write lines himself,
Yes.
a bit of an author.
Right. Hmm. Yeah.
And then Hamlet encourages, all right, forget about Polonius. He's for a jig, a tale of bawdry, he sleeps. So, when he goes to a play, if there's not something going on that's bawdy or music, he's just going to sleep through it. So forget about him. Say on, come to Hecuba. And the first player continues the performance or the reenactment of a play Hamlet saw many years before. And so the first player, in quotes, but who, oh, who had seen the mobled queen, Hamlet asked, the mobled queen? Polonius, that's good. Mobled queen is good. First player, run barefoot up and down, threatening the flames. This is all, again, the story of Aeneas and Dido that's being recounted by the player. Hamlet's trying to remember that play you did about Aeneas and Dido? And so and then Hamlet encourages him, well, forget that. Let's come to the part of Hecuba. And the first player takes it up. Run barefoot, blah, 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 blah. And passion in the gods, end quote. That's line 540, I guess. Then Polonius, look whether he has not turned his color and has tears in his eyes. Pray you no more. So Hamlet's brought to tears by this, but it's not this really, it's his own knowledge of what's going on. I mean, he's brought to tears by his own by his father's death and by
right.
Yeah. And so Hamlet says, "'Tis well, I'll have thee speak out the rest soon." So that's the end of the play. And then Polonius says, "Good my lord," he says to Polonius, "will you see the players well bestowed? Let them be well used, for they are the abstract and brief chronicles of the time. After your death, you were better have a bad epitaph than their ill report while you live." Polonius, my lord, I will use them according to their desert. And then Hamlet encourages him, not by what they deserve, but by your bounty, take them in.
It's a great line, sir. What is it? I've not got the book there, but it's treat each man according to what he deserves, and who'd escape a whipping.
Right. That's
Wonderful.
Right.
So wonderful.
Use every man after his desert, and who should escape whipping? Use them after your own honor and dignity. The less they deserve, the more merit is your bounty. Take them in. And then Hamlet says, follow him, friends. We'll hear a play tomorrow. And then everybody leaves, and except for the first player. And Hamlet then says, remember, can you play the murder of Gonzago? Yes.
Yeah.
We'll have it tomorrow night. And then he says, I'm going to add a few lines. You can memorize those. And he says, oh, sure. No problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill, since we're all Ulysses people, I think or Joyce people, I guess generally, it might be worth talking about what is it? Better have a bad epitaph than their bad report kind of thing.
Right.
And,
right.
Didn't Joyce actually sharpen his axe on a few enemies in the books that he?
More than a few. More than a few.
Absolutely, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think he took that line very much to heart.
Yeah.
So we kind of sort of have gone to the end of scene 2, and we decided the time has moved on. We're entering our 3rd hour, and probably best to wrap it up.
Could I just
yeah, well, that's the end of Act 2.
Soliloquy something, or do you want to save it till next time? Because that's an important soliloquy. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I? I'm
Yeah. Well,
you want to do that now or next time?
Let's do that next time. Let's bring that up in the beginning.
Okay, it's a long one.
And just say, hey, we read scene 2 and we analyzed a lot of it, but it's very rich and complex. And there's a few things that we want to talk about. What would we like to talk about before we move on, sort of thing.
Yeah, Act 2.
Handle it that way. There's so much in here. And actually, I think that here I'm going to make an outrageous statement. That part of what Shakespeare is doing is trying to put us in the framework of Hamlet himself, who's got so much going on in his mind that he can't quite figure out how to handle it all. And he's just kind of feeling his way through the situation. So, and I feel like that after reading scene 2 or Act 1, scene 2. It's
No,
just so rich. It's kind of like my head is like
this is Act 2, Scene 2.
Act 2, Scene 2. Thank you.
Scene 2.
Case in point. Example in point. All right. Gee, thanks, folks. This is good. And I look forward. Next Friday, I will have to see what's going on with me. I will definitely start it. Whether I'll be able to, how much I can attend is unknown because of family things, but I can definitely get it started, and we'll start it at the regular time. Remember that the time change will put us back in our usual
That's right.
72.
time slots in Ireland and the States. Okay?
Okay. Happy
You know,
Easter,
Duncan?
everyone.
That's right. It does. It's
Happy
dark.
Easter.
It's dark in Cork. I can see through the window. It's dark in Cork. It's time to
Yes,
say
it's dark and Cork.
Oh.
Yeah.